oh, just let me oh.
That clock keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me oh, just let me oh.
It's quite a serious thought, having to choose a handful of Rolex watches thoroughly. I would be lying if I said that I haven't thought long and hard about this before, and I'm sure most of you have as well. And don't worry, the thumbnail is not going to give everything away. So today I'll be picking a selection of Rolex pieces that I would select if money wasn't an option, and hope to explain my reasoning for the pairing. For the sake of this video's length, I'll keep to the theme of relatively modern pieces, instead of looking at vintage pieces. That'll be for another video. So in this video you will get to see how a designer would rationalize a watch collection, and what elements, at least in my opinion, constitutes a strong foundation. But of course, regardless of what I choose, these are my choices, and I'm sure yours will be completely different. So let's begin. Let's craft a designer's collection of Rolex sports pieces. It's important for me to say that I am quite modest with my watches. I'm not really one who enjoys extremely loud pieces, and prefers the subtleties of steel instead of gold. Luckily, Rolex offers such a breadth of simple sports pieces, and ones with more punch, so the selection shouldn't be a problem. But for fun, I'll be doing a sensible collection and a crazy collection alongside it. So these would be my trio of everyday pieces. First and foremost, I think there is something innately special about a birth year watch. If you only had to own one watch, I think a watch made in the same year you were born would be phenomenal. Why do I say that? Well, time is a factor in all of these discussions. Time is a commodity we have. And like you, the watch has aged and will continue to age alongside you. It is a very endearing sentiment. But since we're extending our possibilities, I don't think a birth year watch is anything near as cool as a birthday watch. So I would make it my mission to find a model that was assembled on the same day that I was born. That could be done easily enough with a bit of tenacity. My first choice in watch, cliche as it sounds, would be a 14060 Submariner, 5-digit reference, simply because it pulled me into Rolex and the hobby many years ago. What makes it such a great watch? Should I even answer this question? The case is slim in profile, the dial is simple, the watch is well balanced, it is subtle and versatile everywhere. I think that's enough. Let's get more crazy. The next watch might be a bit of a strange choice. The Daytona. And no, I wouldn't be looking for a modern ceramic piece. I believe that the Daytona should have an added element to its build. For some strange reason, I've always been drawn to the two-tone pieces with white dials, be it either the 16523 or the 116503. But I think the more modern piece would be a better call. This watch just screams elegance to me. It is a watch that I've found doesn't get enough attention. Maybe they aren't appreciated anywhere near as much as they should be. I just know that if I had won the Le Mans 24 hours and stood on the podium, this would be the watch I would want to hold as a reward. It feels like a trophy, being polished in all the right places. It's slim, tapered, and as far as watch's functionality goes, the contrasting metals make it more legible. And it is also a watch that could fit in any situation, which is what I admire the most. It is casual enough to be worn with jeans, but also with a black tie. These two watches together make a perfect sports watch collection. One has a white dial, the other a black dial. One functions as a more everyday wearing watch, while the other is a bit more formal. Neither of them have a date complication, which I really admire. The watches are just tidy, and I'd stop the collection here, but since we have more cash to burn, let's pull some more pieces together. The next watch would probably be a more modern piece. I would need a watch that would be excellent for everyday use, but also stylish. I wouldn't be comfortable wearing a quote-unquote vintage Submariner every day, and a two-tone Daytona, which also should be a special piece, saved for rarer occasions. So of all the new watches available, I would gravitate towards a Supercase watch. If you haven't seen my clip about the Rolex Supercase, I talk about designing for longevity, and the watch I would choose would be the Batman. Why? First, it is a phenomenal watch. Also pared down and simple, but the blue and black on the bezel just makes sense, indicating the day and the night sky. Here's the thing. I've never liked the Batman on an oyster bracelet. It just looks too plain and boring for my tastes. The GMT, I've always felt, is a watch that deserves a dressier appeal, so I would have the watch on a Jubilee bracelet. Good thing it was just released, right? Now, as a combination, You might be able to see what I've done here. There's been a bit more planning happening in the background. Compare the bracelets of the three watches. We have a 90s Oyster, a modern two-tone Oyster, and a modern Jubilee. The cases, a 5-digit tapered brushed case, a 6-digit tapered polished case, and a modern super case. The bezels, an aluminium bezel insert, a gold bezel insert, and a ceramic bezel insert. The functions, a dive bezel, a chronograph, and a GMT. The practical watch for every day has the date complication, and a bezel that could be used for the sake of countdown timing and for looking at different time zones. The more I look at this set of three, the more I want these pieces. It's strange that after all this time, all these years, they all still appeal to me greatly. But we're not done yet. Let's go mad and pull together some cooler alternatives following the same vein. Clean slate. As far as two-tone watches go, I have always enjoyed the charm of the bluesy Submariner. That blue dial is something out of this world, and as a combination, the blue with the gold make a phenomenal look. Yes, some might not consider it practical for every day, and it is not to everyone's tastes, but I have known a few fathers in my past who have handed this watch down to their sons, all of whom wear the watch daily. It's one hell of a gift to receive. Next, the Daytona, but probably the most understated Daytona around, the 50th anniversary Platinum with a brown ceramic bezel. The color brown has always been a part of my life. I think it is so versatile and wish there were more watches that would have a brown color scheme today. And paired with an ice blue dial, I mean, come on. And finally, the most polarizing watch of all, a root beer GMT on a Jubilee bracelet. The tiger's eye dial reminds me of my childhood in Africa. It is such a romantic color, and again, the elements of brown fascinate me. As a combination, these pieces aren't very practical. None of them are made to be handled in rugged situations, save the Submariner that could probably withstand anything thrown at it. They all have traces of precious metals in them, but at the same time, they aren't what I would call loud. The materials might have changed, but the genre of watches still remain, and they all have a punch of color that is unique to them. But seeing all these watches together, you can now see the method to my madness. There is a common trend of a Sub, a Daytona, and a GMT. These are the types of watches I wear most regularly, and maybe if 5 watches were on the list, I would add an Explorer or 2. So now it's your turn. Tell me about the watches you own and what about them have appealed to you. I hope you have enjoyed my polarizing watch choices. Cheers for now.